Okay, so picture this. It's raining. And I mean, like, hard. The
Yeah.
kind of heavy storm that just feels oppressive. It's the morning of March 31st, 1995, in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a Days Inn motel looking at room 158. It's completely nondescript.
It's just another motel room.
Exactly. But inside that room, an argument is happening.
Yeah.
In just a few minutes, that door's going to open, and the entire course of American music is about to change.
It's one of those moments, if you grew up anywhere near that world, you remember exactly where you were when you heard the news.
Right.
We're not just talking about a murder. This was, in a way, the assassination of a cultural movement.
We are talking about Selena Quintanilla Perez. And before we get into the crime itself, we have to set the stakes.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think for people who weren't around then, the sheer magnitude might get lost. She was 23 years old. She wasn't just famous. She was the queen of Tejano.
And you have to understand what that title even means. Tejano music in the early 90s. It was a total boys' club.
All cowboy hats and accordions.
Exactly. And for a young woman to not just break in, but to completely dominate it, to become a fashion icon, I mean, it was unheard of.
I was reading this one source, Audiotopia, and it frames her as a sonic bridge.
I love that term.
It was perfect, right?
Yeah.
She was American, she was Mexican, she spoke English but sang in Spanish. She lived in this hyphenated space that millions of people recognized but never, ever saw on TV.
And that is the critical context here. She was on the verge of her massive English language crossover.
The big one.
She was being called the Mexican Madonna. The album Dreaming of You was almost done. She was weeks, maybe days, from becoming a global name.
And the absolute tragedy, the thing that makes this a true crime nightmare, is that the person who stopped it all, it wasn't some stalker in the bushes.
No.
The person in room 158 with her was Yolanda Saldivar, the president of her fan club, her best friend.
That's the real mystery we need to get into today. How do you go from being the most trusted person in someone's inner circle,
The one holding the keys to everything.
to holding a .38 caliber revolver in a motel room? We really need to trace the psychology of a betrayal that deep.
So let's start with the how. The Quintanilla family was like a fortress. Abraham, her dad, ran that ship so tight. So how does this nurse from San Antonio just waltz in?
She didn't. She wore them down. It started back in '91. Yolanda started calling and calling.
This relentlessly.
Dozens of messages. She wanted to start a fan club. She was persistent, but, she was respectful, articulate. But here is the key.
The hook,
The psychological hook. She was a registered nurse.
which carries so much weight. It implies care, responsibility.
Exactly. She presented herself as a professional, not, a screaming teenager. So Abraham finally said yes.
And when she was in, she made herself indispensable.
Totally. Grew the fan club to 1,500 members. She was organized, efficient. And for Selena, who was just exhausted from touring, Yolanda became this sanctuary.
It sounds like that classic seduction phase of a toxic relationship. You just make yourself the solution to every single problem.
Need something done, Yolanda. Need someone to vent to, Yolanda.
And that's how she got the keys to the kingdom. They promote her to manage Selena's boutiques.
But if you actually look at the statements from people who worked for Yolanda, the mask starts to slip. Fast.
The mask doesn't just slip, it plummets. I was reading the account from Martin Gomez, the designer for the boutiques.
Yeah, his story's chilling.
He called working with her psychological warfare.
Because he saw the possessiveness before anyone else did. He realized she didn't just want to work for Selena. She wanted to own her, to isolate her.
And get this detail, it's so small, but it says everything. Gomez would finish a dress, write perfect work, he'd leave.
And when he came back,
The hems would be ripped out. And Yolanda would be standing there like, oh, Selena, look at the terrible work. You can't trust him.
it's pure gaslighting, sabotaging the business just to drive a wedge between Selena and anyone else who got close.
And then there was her apartment, which witnesses described as a shrine.
That's putting it mildly. Wall-to-wall Selena. It wasn't a fans collection, it was worship.
See, this is where I struggle. If she's that creepy, why didn't Selena just run?
Well, you have to remember how isolating fame is. You're on a bus with your family all the time. Yolanda was the one person outside that circle who seemed to care about Selena the person.
Not the brand.
Right. And by the time that kind of behavior became really obvious, Yolanda was already handling the money.
And it's always the money, isn't it? That's where the house of cards collapses.
Early 1995, the complaints start. Fans aren't getting their merchandise. Boutique employees are missing paychecks.
So Abraham Quintanilla investigates, and he finds it embezzlement. Thousands of dollars.
Which leads to the big confrontation. March 9, 1995. Abraham, Selena, her sister Suzette, they sit Yolanda down.
And Abraham just goes nuclear. Fires her on the spot, threatens to call the police.
And this should have been the end. The tie is severed, the thread is removed, but Selena...
She kept the door cracked open.
She did.
Why? I mean, that's the question that just haunts this whole case. Your dad proves she's a thief. Why are you still talking to her?
Two things, I think. Practicality and maybe a little bit of naivety.
Okay.
It was tax season. Yolanda had all the bank statements, all the financial records. Selena thought she could just get the papers back, file her taxes, and then cut ties. She thought she could manage the situation.
She just didn't realize she was dealing with someone who had absolutely nothing left to lose.
And this is where the timeline gets really, really dark. Because this wasn't a crime of passion.
No. The gun purchase tells a very different story.
It's complicated. It shows her state of mind. She buys a .38 caliber revolver in San Antonio, and then she returns it.
See, that part always throws me. If you're planning a murder, you don't return the gun, it suggests she was hesitating.
Or it suggests she was creating drama, even for herself. But the fact is, she went back and she repurchased it right before the murder, so she had the weapon. Now she just needed to get Selena alone.
And she uses the oldest trick in the book, a cry for help.
She calls Selena, says she was raped in Mexico. She knows Selena has this savior complex. She knows she won't turn her back on someone in pain.
And it worked. Selena picks her up, takes her to the hospital.
But the doctors find no evidence of assault. Yolanda's story is falling apart in real time.
Selena's frustrated. She has a recording session to get to. She's done. They drive back to the Days Inn.
Room 158. This is it. The moment of no return. Selena demands the documents. She dumps the bag out on the bed.
And in that moment, Yolanda Seldivar has to know the game is up.
The lies aren't working anymore. The embezzlement is out. The whole relationship is dead.
And she pulls the Taurus .38 revolver.
Selena tried to run. She turned toward the door.
And Yolanda fired. Just one shot.
But the aim was devastating.
Yeah.
And the bullet was a hollow point.
Can you explain that for people who might not know? Why is that detail so important?
A hollow point is designed to expand on impact. It maximizes the damage. It entered Selena's back, just below her shoulder blade, went through her chest, and it severed the right subclavian artery.
I read in the autopsy notes that the cut to the artery was only pencil size. It sounds so survivable.
Not that artery. It's a direct line from the heart's output. The blood loss is catastrophic and almost instant.
But she still manages to get the door open and stumbles out.
She runs toward the lobby.
And she leaves a 390-foot trail of blood. That image is just, it's horrifying.
And think about this. What is Yolanda doing? She's a trained nurse.
She should be applying pressure, calling 911.
She does nothing. Witnesses say she stood in the doorway, watched Selena run, and called her a bitch. Then she walked to her truck to try and flee.
That one action destroys any accident defense right there.
Completely.
So Selena makes it to the lobby. She collapses. The staff are trying to help her. And with her last breaths, she solves her own murder.
She says, Yolanda, room 158.
She made sure there was no mystery about who did it.
But the why was about to play out for 9.5 hours in the parking lot. Police corner Yolanda in her truck, and this massive standoff begins.
This part of the story gets glossed over, I think. 9.5 hours with the FBI Crisis Negotiation Unit. We have the tapes.
And it's a masterclass in manipulation. She's got the gun to her own head. She's wailing, I just want to die, asking for her mom.
But as the hours go on, you can hear her narrative start to shift, can't you?
Oh, yeah. She starts planting the seeds. She starts saying things like, the gun went off.
Nothing to do it.
Exactly. She's workshopping her defense in real time with the FBI. She knows she's trapped, so she pivots to the accident story.
Which brings us to the trial. October 95. The defense goes all in on that theory.
And the prosecution just took it apart, piece by piece. They brought in the weapon itself.
Right. This wasn't some hair trigger gun.
Not at all. It required 11 pounds of pressure to fire. You have to mean it. Guns don't just go off.
And then there's the behavior. If you accidentally shoot your best friend, and you're a nurse,
you help them. You don't call them a name and run. The jury saw right through it. They were out for only 2 hours.
2 hours. That's lightning fast for a case like this. Guilty. First-degree murder.
Yeah.
There's one detail from the scene we skipped, and I have to bring it up because it breaks my heart. When the paramedics were working on her, Her hand was clenched tight.
A ring.
The ring, it was a friendship ring Yolanda had given her. She was clutching it as she died.
The symbolism is it's staggering. She was holding on to the symbol of their friendship while literally running for her life from the woman who killed her.
So Yolanda gets life in prison. But under Texas law at the time, that meant parole eligibility after 30 years.
Which brings us to the very recent past. We're recording this in January of 2026. That 30-year mark just hit in March 2025.
And a lot of fans were really anxious that she might actually get out.
But she didn't. Parole was denied. The board cited the brutality of the crime.
So she's still in prison
Yep.
in the Patrick O'Daniel unit in Gainesville, Texas.
And from what we know, she's in protective custody, mostly for her own safety.
Because the other inmates,
The women she's incarcerated with, they grew up listening to Como LaFleur. They idolized Selena. That loyalty is real, and she's been getting death threats for decades.
it's amazing. Selena's been gone for over 30 years, and her legacy is still protecting her.
Which brings us back to that sonic bridge idea. The tragedy isn't just the loss of a singer, it's the loss of the future she was building. She was about to erase the line between Latin music and American music.
It makes you wonder what the pop culture landscape would even look like today if she had lived.
Very, very different. I think she had that once-in-a-generation charisma.
I want to end on a thought about the killer, though. We've talked about the what and the how, but the why, it keeps coming back to this terrifying form of love.
It's the darkest side of fandom. Yolanda didn't kill Selena because she hated her. She killed her because she felt entitled to her.
Right.
In her mind, if she couldn't possess Selena's attention, her job, her trust, then nobody could.
And that's the thought I think we should leave everyone with. At what specific point does admiration curdle into obsession? When does "I'm your biggest fan" turn into "I own you"?
It's a terrifyingly thin line. And Yolanda Saldivar crossed it with a hollow point bullet in room 158.
The music is still everywhere. You can't escape beady beady bomb bomb. But the lesson of the case is just stark. Be so careful who you trust. Thanks for going on this deep dive with us.
Take care.